But anyway, round 1 was against Nice Dad Man and his kid. He was playing Flesh Eater Courts. And it was the Royal Menagerie Battalion. And what this means is, in your hero phase, you can move everybody in the battalion up to 6 inches. And that's just free movement. Like, you can move later. That's fine. And it's possible there's some other thing, like you can pile in an attack in your hero phase if things happen to still be in combat. I can't remember. And his list was all in. He's one of those all in lists. He had 4 Terrorgeists and then like 40 ghouls. And that was the army. So he had a Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, and then 3 normal Terrorgeists. And all of those, in my head, I'm like reading his war scroll. You give each other your war scrolls and your battalions and your army list. Like, there's no secrets or surprises.
Right.
And so I'm reading this, and I'm like, okay, so he can move 6 inches in his hero phase. He's got 4 Terrorgeists. I think I know what his plan... I think I know what the plan is. I think the plan is to get in my grill immediately and make long charges. And then just, like, tear me up before I've even gotten a turn. Terrorgeists have a breath weapon that rolls against your bravery and makes people flee. And then later you take Battle Shock. And so already I'm like, man, feeling good about that inspiring trait. Star Strike. So that battle plan is everybody sets up across from each other. Round 1, nothing happens. Round 2, 1 star falls in the exact middle of the board, lengthwise, either in the middle, on the left, or on the right. And that's the objective that you have to capture. Then on turn 3, 2 more land, 1 in your territory, 1 in your opponent's territory, also in kind of a random spot. I'm looking at his army. I choose Restoring Balance as the secondary objective for this game, which is, you score this secondary objective if you destroy or cause to flee through Battle Shock more models/units with any of the following keywords: Priest, Wizard, Totem, importantly, or Monster, and or standard unit from your opponent's army, then they destroy or cause to flee through Battle Shock from your army. Because I'm like, okay, he's got 4 Terrorgeists. He's going to get it in my face. And if I'm going to win this game at all, it's going to be by killing all 4 of those Terrorgeists. So I'm going to take the secondary that'll give me 4 extra points, basically if I win the game already. It's a little risky, right? Like, taking a secondary that requires you to get a major victory, pretty much. So, like, if I get smashed, I have nothing to show for it, but I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty confident about it. Plus, as I learned in Age of Sigmar tournaments, or as I would quickly learn, if you don't get max points, including all the secondaries and all the tertiaries, every single round, you're not even close to the top 10. So it's like, you know, in Magic where you're like 0-2 drop, the Age of Sigmar version is, if like in round 2 you get a draw instead of a win or a loss, you might as well like leave the tournament. Like anything short of perfection and you're shit in the final standings. Which sucks, but lucky that hyper competitive is not like the main goal of going to these things. It's like playing the game that you love and looking at all these amazing models and stuff and getting a good painting stuff and making friends and drinking beer and shit. So it's lucky that all the rest of it is so fun, because a lot of the pure competition of it is sketch. Especially with like priority rolls and stuff. where like people are randomly getting time walks by flipping a coin every single game, and so it's like I'm glad that the tournaments are as casual as they are, because it would be infuriating if they were like really competitive with stuff like this going on. But luckily they're not, and you're able to have fun regardless, or I was anyway. So he outdropped me because he was running a battalion, and I don't have a battalion because generic order basically doesn't have any. So I have like 10 or 11 drops, so everyone's always going to outdrop me, and my opponent will probably always be able to choose who goes first or not, which is another reason all my guys had to be pretty resilient. So he chooses to go first because he doesn't want me to Inspiring Presence Arcanaut Company. He put 4 huge monsters about 10 inches away from all my guys on first turn. He cast spells and used abilities, used command abilities, moved 6 in his hero phase, moved 14 in his normal movement phase, and then charged. After shrieking at the Arcanauts, killing about 7, they were all pretty long charges because I didn't set up right up against the line. I set up back a little bit, because I didn't want him to make easy charges and kill everything. So it worked out. I think he made 1, possibly 2 out of the 4. It's, you know, it's been a while. These are gonna be rough and quick. He shrieked at all the Arcanauts, killing about 7. Charged in. I drank Quicksilver potions so I could fight first. Did tons of damage to his Terrorgeist. The Terrorgeist attacked back, but I made most of my saves because they're reliable. He forgot or didn't read carefully enough that I was using Inspiring, so he was expecting a bunch of Arcanauts to run away to Battle Shock. Because he has stuff that debuffs Battle Shock in like an area as well, or your bravery, I mean. But I had Inspiring, and so that saved a bunch of them. I got to go. The counter charge was extremely brutal for him. My Arcanauts opened fire and just straight up killed a Terrorgeist full to dead.
Damn.
Which is likely, by the way. It wasn't like really good rolling. This is their job. Both of the dragons breathed fire. The silver one charged in. They're re-rolling hits. They tore up the Terrorgeists pretty much. Long story short, my dragons outrolled his Terrorgeists. He ran out of monsters, I didn't. And he conceded on like turn 3 or 4 because the game had become all of my stuff versus about a third of his.
Just 40 ghouls hanging out.
40 ghouls getting eaten by dragons and bears and stuff, while 10 skinks ran a d6 every turn to get onto his side to capture objectives. And they did. So I got a major victory because I outscored him with objectives. I got my full secondary objective because I killed all his monsters. He killed none of mine. And I got the full tertiary because I scored 2 points if I control the comet in the center of the table with a battle line roll, which I did, which were skinks. So I got the full 18 points and he got 0, and it was really brutal for him. But he was a nice guy and we had fun. Round 2 was Places of Power against Good Painter Stormcast Eternal Man. His Stormcast had expertly chosen color scheme and were excellently painted. Furthermore, I'll show a picture of this afterwards, but the cobblestones on all the bases were individually created by him, not just some, like, you know, base you buy on eBay. Like, they're 100% custom manuals, dude, and they looked great. Whole army looked awesome. He asked me, you know, how much I play. It's like a typical thing, you know, and he's like, he tells me he's played over 200 games with Stormcast, and I told him I've played 6 or 7 with this mixed order, so he better he better watch out. He seemed like he knew how much more experienced he was in the game than me, which was not wrong. And so my assumption was he would pretty much just move everything forward, try to get the double turn, and wipe me out real quick. Like, play around the double, in other words, so that he'd have time to, like, get a hot dog at the concessions stand. Like, he was, in my opinion, he was thinking about the next match, because this would be easy. I chose, he was on Good Stuff Stormcast. So, no battalion. Oh man, his is the only one I don't have. Damn. I have a list of all these, like, army lists that I played against. Anyway. He was on Good Stuff Stormcast. He had 4 Fulminators, I think another 2 Fulminators in a different squad. One of every good hero, you know, Castellan, Celestin, Relictor, Heralder. 10 Retributors, an allied in Magmadroth, like Rune Smiter on Magmadroth, which looked gorgeous next to his army, and gave him a cheap behemoth to use and another hero, I suppose. And yeah, it was a well balanced, you know, Stormcast list. So I chose Body Count Rising as my secondary objective. You score this objective if you have destroyed more than half of your opponent's models and or caused to lose them through battle shock. Only count the models at the start of the game to determine the percentage. If your opponent deploys 0 models on the table, then this is automatically achieved.
Oh, nice.
So this was places of power for this round, which means there's 3 points, one in the very middle, one in the middle left, one in the middle right. Only heroes can score these objectives. I feel like it was a mistake to choose Body Count Rising for the secondary objective. I should have chose Head of the Serpent. This was just purely a mistake, I think, on my part, looking back. Head of the Serpent is you score the secondary objective, your opponent's general is slain by the end of the game, and of course I have to slay his general because only heroes can score, and that's the whole point. So, so it was purely an error on my part to choose this secondary objective. But moving on. So he outdrops me. He makes me go first. And I have a little think. And I'm like, okay, my plan is I'm going to kill all of his heroes. And jump with the dragons pretty much like right in front. Score 2 points. Throw my bears away in the trash, like throw them under the bus to waste time and distract. I'll have 2 points if the dragons live, or 6 points if they live for another turn. And then I'll kill all his heroes and win on points by the end of the game, and it doesn't matter if he tables me because he won't be able to score any points. And so that's what I'll go for. And he's probably going to play for, like, double turning me and just kind of killing everything. So he did give me the first turn. I leap both dragons onto 2 objectives. The bears run ahead of them and just kind of shoot stuff to debuff it and sit there ready to get killed. Or, you know, get stuck in. My thinking was, I debuffed some of his units with the bears. I have great saves. I'm rerolling saves on the dragons. I'm rerolling 1s to save on the bears. I don't think he can kill these things even if he double turns me. But definitely he can't if he doesn't double turn me. And I win priority and things go properly back and forth. So on his turn he moves everybody up. Puts the Magmadroth on the left point, scoring 1 point. Gets my guys into combat. And his guys are Fulminators. They have 3 damage lances on the charge. And they have the same mounts that my guys do. So they're the ones that if you get a 6 to wound, it does a d6 damage instead of 1. And so he proceeds to roll 6 attacks with the unit of 2 and 12 attacks with the unit of 4. And rolls about over 50% 6s in every group of dice he rolled for the entire turn, for both hits and wounds.
Holy shit.
And I failed every important save, even with rerolls, and just everything died.
Oh man.
And then I got double turned, and so then everything really died. And now it's my turn. Okay. I shoot the Magmadroth off with the Arcanaut. They're dead. I kill, let's see. During the resulting combats, I managed to kill some of his other heroes as well. It becomes turn 3, and he has 1 hero left on the whole board, and I have 4 points, and he has 1 point. So, if Tenebral Shard rolls a 4-up, on this turn, or the previous turn, or the next turn, I win the game. So, Tenebral Shards rolls, I kept track of them for every turn. Turn 1 failed, turn 2 failed, turn 3 failed, turn 4 failed, game over. Okay. So I lost that game with a 0 out of 18, because didn't get the secondary, because I didn't kill enough of his stuff. Didn't beat him in points, so I got a major defeat for that. And the tertiary was you score a point if you control an objective at the end of the game. Of course I didn't, because everything died. And you score 2 instead if you control it with a normal hero. Of course I didn't, because everything died. So there's the bad beats of the weekend. In the game, I think I positioned my Arcanauts a little incorrectly, but the place that I put them, they did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they killed Magmadroth and every hero around him, which ended up being really good. And my opponent got preposterously lucky throughout the entire game, non-stop, and I was rolling very badly. And I still had a chance to win, except I couldn't roll a 4-up on this thing. And then, after that, have them manage to kill a Relictor, which they could have. And he wasn't bubble wrapping the Relictor at all, so either he didn't see that eventuality, or what I was playing towards, or he just didn't care. Because he's just like, oh, he'll fail this roll too, so it's fine. I don't know what his thought process was, but... But my plan was fine, everything went wrong, and I lost. So now that I got a 0 out of 18, the best I can possibly do is 70th place out of 165 by the end. If you get a 0, it's over. So I resolved to start having fun. I mean, I was already having fun, but, you know. His list was good. It was basically the exact same thing that I built for Andrew when I was teaching him the game. I'm like, oh, I'm going to choose a Stormcast list of just, pure utility good stuff, take all comers, without battalions. And just use, only the best single things, except deciding not to go the Stardrake plan. And it was exactly the same thing. It was 10 Retributors, it was 4 Fulminators, it was one of all the good, heroes, blah, blah, blah. Except it didn't have a Magmadroth. So it was a good list, and it was totally beautiful. Very well painted, good color choices, and a lot of customization. Round 3, Take and Hold versus Excellent Player European Man. Take and Hold is they call it the automatic minor victory. You have an objective on your side in the middle. They have an objective on their side in the middle. If you control both, you win immediately. If you don't, nobody scores a major victory. So both armies are just turtled up around 1 point, and you basically have to table your opponent to win. You can only capture the one objective on your opponent's side if you have 5 or more models around it. So you not only have to table them, but you also have to have like a sizable unit over there to score it. So
yeah.
So it's just everyone's like the winners are going to have minor victories, and that's it. Unless the matchup is just like so not even close that it's not funny. The minor victory is achieved by killing more total points in your opponent's army than they did in yours. I chose Head of the Serpent, the one I should have chose last time, as the secondary objective. You score this if your opponent's general is slain, because I figured, okay, he's turtling up, so I'll just like pick off his general, you know, and that'll be worth a bunch of points probably because he's playing a Star Drake. So, you know, if I'm gonna win, it's gonna be that way. This guy's list was classic, cookie cutter. I would say net deck, like net list version of Stormcast Eternals, except this guy literally invented that. He was kind of famous.
Oh, really?
He play tested for the game. He play tested for the original General's Handbook when they were coming up with points and stuff as Stormcast. He came up with the Lord Celestin on Stardrake being followed around by a Castellant to make it nigh unkillable list, and played it a million times in every big tournament in Europe, and got top 3 in many of them, and was invited to the World Masters, where he competed with Stormcast as well.
Not exactly a lightweight.
Not exactly a lightweight, yeah. It was Lord Celestin on Stardrake, Lord Relictor, Lord Castellant. Relictor's the one with Lightning Chariot and the D3 heal, which he uses to heal the Stardrake in case of emergencies. Lord Castellant is the one that gives target unit +1 to saves, and then if it rolls a 7 on a save or higher, it heals a wound at the end of... at the beginning of the damage step. Then he had a Knight Venator, which is the bowman with the fated, like star-fated arrow. It does a d6 + 6, or a d6 + 3 damage or something like that once a game, at like a 40-inch range with 2s to hit and 3s to wound or something, with Ren 2 or some such. It's like, it's an amazing one-time headshot that you can do, but it has a stigma of always missing, because it's just once a game, it's a single shot, and it's like, okay, I hit on 2s, and you just roll the fucking 1, or the person passes the save or something. You're like, god damn it. And then there's Knight Heralder, the Stormhorn, the mighty Stormhorn Dutecast Eternal. The guy who can make something run in charge, or retreat in charge, or choose a terrain piece and cause an earthquake underneath it for a D3 mortal wounds. And then besides that, he had 5 Liberators, 10 Judicators in 2 different units, 3 Prosecutors with Stormcall Javelins, and 4 Fulminators in 2 different units of 2. I didn't know what the Prosecutors with Stormcall Javelins were exactly for. I'm used to seeing those guys as part of a Hammerstrike battalion, where you can like teleport Paladins down right in front of your Prosecutors, and they have wings, so they're really fast and they can go places, and, you know, your Paladins have move 4, and Prosecutors have like move 10 or 12, so easy. But he wasn't playing any battalions or anything like that, and so I thought the Prosecutors were a strange choice when I was just looking at his army. I'm like, maybe he just needs somebody with a high move to just go and sit somewhere? I'm not sure. Because they're 100 points for 3. Yes, they have a good move, but like everything about them is kind of bad. Their ranged weapon isn't very good. They don't really want to get into melee combat. I don't know. This guy was my pick for the best sportsman of the tournament. He was a pleasure to play against. Polite, tactical, respectful. We had a rules question. We found the answer. It was easy. Great accent as well. He told me stories about like beta testing and Stormcast and stuff like that. It was too bad that I had to meet him in a game where clearly he had just got smashed last round, just like I did, because we're paired up. So, you know, that sucks. His other like pro player buddies were coming by the table every 10 minutes pretty much for the whole game and making fun of him for not being in first place because he lost big last round or something like that, and so it was kind of funny.
Tell you about that round? Like, what did he play against?
I don't know. Like, I probably asked him at the time, but it's been too much has happened since then. I can't remember.
All right.
This game was sick. He buffed up the Star Drake. He put it straight up in my grill. So the Star Drake, it's got a 3-up save, rerolling 1s because he has a shield. He is the general with Staunch Defender, so if he doesn't charge, he gets +1 to save. So he's on a 2-up, rerolling 1s. Castellan shines his light on him, giving him +1 to save, and 7s heal him. So he is on a 1-up, rerolling 1s. So if I attack him with a Rend 1 weapon, the first roll of all of the dice cannot fail, because 2s succeed and 1s are rerolled. So he needs to roll 2 1s in a row to take 1 damage from a Rend 1 weapon. And anytime he rolls a 5 or a 6 on a save, he heals a wound. So it's safe to say this thing is durable. Furthermore, it's a Star Drake for like 560 points, so it's like got an amazing breath weapon that has a range of basically the table that you can choose specific units to take a D3 mortal wounds over and over. He tears shit up in melee combat. He can devour single models in a big unit because it's a dragon. It can just swallow people. It's awesome. So he just ran it. He ran it pretty much right in the middle of my army, figuring I couldn't kill it, and if I won priority, I probably couldn't kill it, and if he won priority, he would probably single-handedly have it kill everything in my army, which isn't exactly a bad plan. Star Drake is real strong, and he had two fulminators on either side of it. So he runs up with it. He does the breath weapon. Snipes the chemist, so the chemist is dead. And just does, you know, some mortal wounds to other stuff in my squads. My turn, I shoot the Star Drake with the Tempesters to give it -2 to hit, and possibly deal a damage if I'm lucky, if he happens to roll 2 1s in a row. And he does. He actually, like, I shoot him something like, whatever, 8 times or something, and he rolls 2 1s in a row. Like, he rolls a 1, and re-rolls it and gets a 1. So I deal 1 damage to him, which is very lucky. Now that he's already taken damage, I'm no longer going to target him with anything that's not a mortal wound, because otherwise he'll just heal it up.
Right.
He has, like, 10 times the chance of healing a wound that he does at failing a save. But I got 1 cheeky extra damage in, which is pretty lucky. Both dragons breathe their breath weapons on him and roll pretty well for tons of mortal wounds, and then all 4 Tempesters breathe their breaths on him for another 3 mortal wounds. And I'm shooting now the Fulminators to debuff them so they can't do much damage to me. The Arcanauts are shooting the Fulminators off the table and stuff. We roll for priority. I can't remember who wins. It might have been me, it might have been him, I can't recall. Because, like, what happens in the next battle round is basically I put 13 mortal wounds into the Star Drake. He has 3 life left. The Relictor fails his healer prayer, and the Star Drake is forced to retreat, or he'll die. He, at this point, apologizes to me that he has to, quote, play like a douche, end quote, by running away with the Star Drake and breath weaponing me for the whole game from the corner of the table. Because his secondary is the fact that his general has to stay alive. And so I'm an adult playing in a competition, and so it's like ridiculous to me that he needs to apologize. Whether or not that was his secondary, it was the right move to play in this game. I don't think you need to apologize to make the correct play. It was literally the right play to do that. My bears were half dead, the dragons were on the other side of the table and getting wounded. Nobody could catch up to the Star Drake. I couldn't physically reach him. And you win this game by killing more points than your opponent does. And the Star Drake is 560 points. So, like, this is unequivocally the correct play. And he has no reason to apologize. And I told him as such. The wargaming community is strange sometimes, and I find this to be strange. Like, what kind of immature man-children are you playing against that, like, they get actually salty for you making the right plays in a game of tactics and strategy? Like, you shouldn't need to baby people like that. Maybe I'm just ultra-competitive because I'm coming from Magic, but, like, if my opponent is, like, making the wrong plays on purpose because he thinks I'll get upset if I start losing, it's like, you know I'm 30. Like, you're
Right.
playing me like I'm a child. You would have, like, no respect for me as an adult or a competitor or something. If you were just, like... You'd also think that I'm dumb as well, I think. It's a little insulting that way, too, where it's like, this guy's childish, and so I think he might, like, rage if he starts losing too bad, and so I'll just choose, like, not good plays so that he doesn't lose so hard, which kind of says, like, this guy's so bad that he won't even know that I'm, like, going easy on him. Like, he won't detect that. I'll trick him. So, I mean, this is a decision that this guy made, not because that's his personality. He seemed like a very... You know, he was tactical, polite, he was competitive and intense when he needed to be. He was making all the right plays. Like, I enjoyed playing against him as a sportsman. This was like a reflection of the community that he was in. Like, he was trying to get a 5 out of 5 sportsmanship score. And so this is where the sportsmanship score is bullshit. When you start playing worse in a competition about how good you can play, because you don't want your opponent to give you a low sportsmanship score simply because they lost and were mad. That's bullshit. There is a better way than rating someone on a 0 to 5 scale, I think. Because especially if it's causing shit like this. If it's causing people to play the game wrong on purpose to baby their opponent so that they don't get a lower sportsmanship score, it's having an adverse effect that they're not intending on the quality of the games. Furthermore, it behooves you to be some massive extrovert goofball or whatever to try to, like, get your 5 out of 5 sportsmanship, like it's a fucking Yelp review. You know?
Yeah. Just be a try-hard.
Yeah, like, trying hard, like, super fake, like, hey, great game, buddy. You know, just, like, putting out, like, it behooves you to do this persona, this fake friendly thing. And I'm not saying, like, so there's a difference between being friendly and being over the top fake friendly because you're trying to get a 5, you know. And I don't think people should be encouraged to do that by the ways the rules work. That's going to arise. If you're in a competition and points matter and you score points on being nice, well, then that's part of the competition.
Right.
Like, by definition. And so just like you try to come up with a combo with your guys and you choose good units, you're gonna, like, maybe try to be a little too nice and maybe not beat the guy so hard. because you don't want him to feel like you smashed him with this list that was bullshit. And so he's going to give you a 3 out of 5. So you're going to like, you're going to draw it down a little bit. You're going to hold it back a little bit. And that's stupid. And they should just deal with it if they lose. I know I'm being a little, like I'm being really black and white about it. But like, if you lose really hard, that's no reason to lower your opponent's sportsmanship score. And I think,
right.
I don't even want people to have the feeling like that could happen. And so I don't think you should be a 0 to 5 sportsmanship score. I think you should be like 10 yes or no questions that are real simple and talk about how you feel. Was your opponent polite? Did your opponent cheat? Did you find your opponent's measurements to be precise? Did they arrive on time? Was your opponent friendly? Yes or no? Like, you can even ask stuff like that. That's fine. That's really subjective, but it's like, was your opponent friendly? Was your opponent respectful or polite? Like, a lot of these kind of mean the same thing, but they have real distinct meanings as well.
Right.
If there was a, you know, was there a rules disagreement? Yes, no. If yes, was it resolved quickly and respectfully? You know, just stuff like that. Like, have like 10 questions and they just get a point for every yes or something, if you have to do it that way. Especially if you're just taking a 0 to 5 and like doubling it and saying that's their sportsmanship score, you might as well have it be a better gauge of that. Because a 0 to 5 is really, you know, eBay, Yelp, where anything but a 5 out of 5, you're being a dick for doing it. Because who knows about the etiquette of this community, right? It could be that anything less than a 5, you're a dick. Because it's just like an unwritten rule that, of course, you circle the 5. Or it could be you're reading exactly what it says, and it says 3 is the average opponent, and 4 is a fine sportsman, and 5 is your new best friend. It literally says, like, now you're Facebook friends. And so they're being cheeky, but they're being cheeky in a thing that has true, like, hard and fast meaning to it. So there's something like 40 people that got a perfect, all 5 rounds were a 5 out of 5. And I doubt that all of them are now Facebook friends and hadn't known each other before, you know?
Right.
So anyway, long tangent aside, he apologizes to me for making the correct play in a competitive game, and as an adult, I told him he doesn't need to apologize. That's what I would have done. That was the right play. The rest of the game was me taking a D3 mortal wounds on 3 or 4 of my units from Star Breath every turn. The Relictor failing literally every single prayer from the start of the game to the end of it. And both of us just basically trying not to mess up with our calculators open, seeing how many points of our opponent's army we had killed while making every decision about whether to go anywhere. Like, alright, I've killed 960 points and you've killed 980 points. So am I going to send this unit against that unit? What's the move on the guy next to that guy? You know, just like, and like trying to figure out what the likely outcomes of everything were. It was an awesome game. Super fun. Like, coming down to points like that. Like, okay, if I kill this one last dwarf, or if this one last dwarf dies, you get 120 points. But if it lives, I get to keep those. And so there's like this one dwarf like running away from a fulminator that's like stuck in combat and stuff, and just like we're like running away with guys and having like little skirmishes and like tallying up the points that we're killing, and like, okay, if this guy moves and runs for these 2 turns, he can get this far and then maybe kill this guy. Should I even engage? Like, all this. It was super fun. Super fun. I ended up winning a minor victory because I killed like 60 more points than him or something like that, even though his Star Drake was still alive. So that was the 3 games. There were people walking around in between all the rounds with clipboards, and they would judge your paint. So you would put your army out, and then the lady would come up, and she would talk to you about the models, like, do you have any conversions? You know, which head is this? What's going on with this? And just, like, discuss your army with you, and then grade your painting. And so this is where I talked to her a little bit, and this is where I learned that you had to have a display board, and if you didn't, you got 0 points out of a possible 4. And the you know, the players next to me were gone, but they still had their armies just set up because that's what you did. And he had like a 2x2 plastic block of Games Workshop store table, like probably borrowed from the Games Workshop where he came from. Like, I recognized it immediately, and it was painted in just the normal way, so I imagine it was probably already done. And it didn't really have anything to do with his army, but the bases were painted a similar color. And I'm like, well, how many points did that guy get for his display board? And she said, oh, 3 out of 4. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, so they're real easy on these display boards. It does not have to be elaborate.
Right.
All right. If I basically just show up with anything, I'll get the 3 next time. So that's fine. She was very happy with the conversions I did on the Tempesters. She thought they were awesome. And that was sweet because I put a ton of work into them, and I think they look awesome. A lot of hacksaws and a lot of Dremels, and carving stuff out and making sure everything works, and putting Stormcast together, arms and legs and capes and shoulders from basically a different Stormcast kit for every one to try to get them to look decent, like sitting on a mount like that. And Fire Slayer heads with giant beards, like tons of customization. I got a lot of points for my conversions because I had the Tempesters were like built from like 6 different things and super customized. I had those World War I like Krieg Death Corps like gas mask heads on all the Arcanauts. So those were different heads. I had Necromunda Clan Eshin heads for the Dragon Lords. The Assassin was a Harlequin with a different arm and a different weapon, and all the bases had like rocks and stuff on them. And so like almost everything in the army had conversions on it. So I got tons of points for that, which was sweet. Day 2. My phone is dying. So I take way less pictures, unfortunately. And I'm concentrating less because yesterday I had the whole tournament, and then after that I was in painting classes until 1 a.m. And then I got up at 6 a.m. to go to the tournament. So it was going to be a long day. And since I only got a minor victory last round, you know, now I'm in like full casual game mode. You know, we're just in it. We're in it for the fun now. Even more so. Round 4 is against Finger of Death Man, who had all of his models in a computer case with like a glass thing on it so you could see them. And it was Scorched Earth. So he had 3 objectives in his territory. I had 3 in mine, all along the edges. And you control an objective if you have more people within 3 of it. At the end of a turn, you can either sit on it, score 1 point, or you can burn it and remove it from the table and score a D3 points. And so now you have decisions to make. Okay, it's turn 3, I can sit here for 2 more turns, right? So I can score a point for 3, score a point for 4, and then a D3 on turn 5. But then this unit is stuck here for the whole game, and maybe he can come and kill it and then get his point back. So, you know, there's a lot of decisions to make, which makes it very fun. The army he's playing is Archon the Black, Legion of Sacrament.
Oh, so you finally get to see this in action.
So I finally get to see this in action. It's probably, let's see, it's almost exactly the thing we made when we were talking about what army you can build Archon around. It's Archon the Black, a White King with a Baleful Tomb Blade, 2 Necromancers, a Mortis Engine, 2 units of 5 Black Knights, 40 Skeletons, 20 Skeletons, 10 Skeletons, 10 Graveguard, and 2 battalions. Death March, which is all the Bone Zones and the White King, and Lords of Sacrament, which is Archon, Mortis Engine, I think, and the Necromancers. Archon has a command ability that increases the range of all wizards around him by 6 inches for their spells. This is fucking amazing. This makes all the 18-inch spells 24, which is a big deal. He's got Curse of Years, one of the coolest spells in the game, aka Finger of Death. You can guess which finger. You roll 10 dice. It's got an 18-inch range. You roll 10 dice. Then you put all the 6s aside. The unit takes that many mortal wounds, and then you re-roll those 6s. And then put all 5s aside, or higher. And the unit takes that many mortal wounds on top of the others. Then you roll those dice again, and you put aside all 4s and higher. You keep doing this, reducing the target number by 1 every time, and re-rolling the ones that hit the target number or higher, and they take that many mortal wounds. So once the target number becomes 1, you can't roll below a 1, so you automatically succeed, and then the target number becomes 0. And you can't roll below a 1, so you automatically succeed, and the target number becomes -1. It takes infinite damage.
And that's how it's supposed to work.
That's how it's supposed to work on purpose. I'll be brief with these, because I wasn't taking notes at this point. I was just sort of like casually kind of playing and having fun. And chatting with people. Tenebral Shard immediately rolls a 4-up on turn 1. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just try to kill a Necromancer. Let's just try to do it. There's a low chance of it working, but let's get lucky here. Necromancers have a 5-up save. Whenever they take damage, they roll dice, and I think on a 4 or 5-up, they can transfer that damage to a nearby unit. So they're just like grabbing skeletons and throwing them in front of them, and saving them from damage. Furthermore, I think the Mortis Engine exudes an aura of like -1 to hit. And Necromancers have 5 wounds. So it's overwhelmingly likely that the Necromancer lives, and then Tenebral plus Assassin just get shreked. But, you know what? I don't care. Let's have fun. Let's get lucky. Tenebral teleports in, the Assassin pops out. They both attack the Necromancer, miss constantly, do 3 damage, 2 of which gets sent to the skeletons nearby, and 1 of which goes on the Assassin. Or 1 of which goes on the Necromancer. Welp. Good try, gents, but it's over. It's over for you two. No, it's not. Archon turns over and attacks Tenebral Shard, misses half his attacks, and I pass my saves. Mortis Engine does a D3 mortal wounds to both of them and rolls a 2, and then Mortis Engine attacks and, like, misses a bunch. And 3 skeletons pile in an attack and do, like, 1 damage. Both assassins live through my first combat phase. They live through the swing back. And I'm like, oh my god. So then I move everything forward. The dragons are going to move left, get to the objective on his left side, kill everything, and then just sort of travel from east to west, burning everything in their path, including the objectives. Like, that's the plan. Because the entire left side of the board is just like shitty skeletons that I think they can kill. They can finish off the unit so that you can't, like, replenish it. And then Arcanauts move up. They're 24 inches away from nothing. Like, all of the Necromancers are out of range. Archon's out of range. Mortis Engine's out of range. By a lot, like an inch or 2 at least. So I shoot the first row of skeletons for fun and kill, like, 8 of them or something. I happen to miss a lot. And then it's his turn. His hero phase, he has to waste tons of spells killing the assassins. Otherwise, it'll get to his movement phase and they'll all technically be in combat and they won't be able to move up. Necromancer casts a debuff onto the Arcanaut Company. It lowers the number of attacks of the unit by 1 for all of their weapons. So the combo no longer works. Minimum of 1. So the Chemist is useless. Everyone moves up. He wins the double turn. So he gets his hero phase within range of all my stuff. He casts all of his debuffs on the Arcanauts, so they're terrible. He casts another debuff on 2 Tempesters, so they're terrible. He uses Curse of Years on the Arcanauts and gets 1/6 and rerolls it and gets a 2. And so just 1 damage. And I'm like, okay. We're in this. We're still in this. My turn, the dragons attack 20 skeletons and miss all their attacks even with rerolls and nothing happens.
What?
700 points worth of dragon behemoths with lances kill 3 skeletons out of 20 with rerolls on all their failed hits.
Oh man.
Both of their breath weapons do kill a necromancer though, so that's nice during my shooting phase. The Arcanauts miss all their shots. Tempesters debuff some stuff. Alright. Start into the next battle round. He wins priority again. Which is fine because I just went, so it's proper initiative order. He casts Curse of Years on the Longbeards, goes infinite, kills all of them. Debuffs every other part of my army. The Bone Zone starts absorbing the dragons. My turn, the dragons kill 20 skeletons. But they start taking heavy fire from some spellcasters and stuff. And long story short, his Black Knights run across the board and start killing all my battle line that are on my objectives. They start burning them. I fail tons of saves. I fail tons of rolls. My army is too debuffed to kill Archon at this point. The dragons are just not doing it. Like, the dice are against me in his backline. I can't do anything. He burns a bunch of objectives, gets a bunch of D3s, and wins. Major loss. I got all my secondaries and my tertiaries though, so I at least got 7 points. Or I mean 6 points. My secondary was Spearhead, which was a weird one, and I didn't know if I'd be able to choose it for anything, but this was a good game for it. You score this if one of your units is within 6 inches of the enemy long table edge at the end of any turn, and then you choose to remove your unit from the table because it drives off of it, and then you score 4 points for that. So on the last turn of the game, I wasn't going to get any more objectives. He was up like, I think it was 13 to 18 or something like that. There was just no way I was coming back from it, so one of the dragons just pieced out, and I got 4 points.
Nice.
But Archon's legit. I think it's Archon plus a bunch of Necromancers with that extra range. And like all the Necromancer's spells are just tons of different debuffs. -1 to hit, -1 bravery. -1 number of attacks. -1 to hit and minus like movement. You only roll 1 die when you charge and -1 to your movement. Like all this stuff, you're like, you have a window of opportunity to deal with Archon, and the window closes quickly and your whole army is debuffed and is just terrible. And then Archon sits there, yeah, just like finger of deathing people and trying to go infinite with it. And then you have just enough Bone Zone to waste people's time and have them like not be able to get objectives and stuff. I think it's good. I think it's super good. And it was the first time I saw Black Knights in action. They're just as awesome as I thought they were when we were looking through the book. Like, Black Knights are badass now. I think they're legit. For 120 points, I'm a buyer.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm a buyer on those guys. I think little MSU, like little you know, multiple small units of them, of just 5 running around, you know, running across the board, killing 10 skinks in one hit, and then capturing an objective. I like that. 15, even like 20 of them, having Neferata cast a spell on them and then using them like an actual attack thing. They're summonable. Like, you can replenish. Like, just play with 20 of them. Have some massive hit. The counter charge probably kills half of them after Battle Shock. Like, who cares? And then just start, like, regenerating D3 of them over and over. Like, I think it's sweet. I think they're good. I think they're real good.
Did you say his Tomb King, I mean, not his Tomb King, his White King had a Tomb Blade, or did he have the Black Axe?
He had the Baleful Tomb Blade.
Okay.
And the Shroud of Darkness artifact, which gave him -1 to get hit in shooting. And Legion of Sacrament ability gives his Legion of Sacrament guys -1 to get hit in the shooting phase. And all of his Necromancers give people -1 to hit in both, and -1 number of attack. Like, his whole army is built to not take damage from shooting. And this is on purpose, and it was wise to do this, because, okay, you have 80 skeletons, right? So against melee armies, you're probably good. What do you lose to? Shooting. All right, so we're just gonna stack up on the shooting defense then, and it worked out. Yeah. And round 5, the last round, I played against a guy having a rough tournament. But so was I. So it's fucking on. So it's fucking on. Let's go. This was Valley of Death. I have an objective at my side, you have one on yours, and then there's one in the middle left and the middle right. You have a major victory immediately if you have control of all 4 points. Otherwise, it goes to points again, like how many points you've killed of your opponent's stuff. Why was I so confident? Because Khorne sucks.
Khorne sucks, or Khorne
Is
sucks
that
against
mean?
your list?
Is that mean? Should I say something else instead? I think I should.
Does it just suck against your list?
No, it just sucks. Khorne's a bad army. You can do Khorne that's good. It's just very specific, and people who want to play Khorne tend not to choose to do that. The best thing Khorne can possibly do is run a lot of Bloodletters, run a lot of Slaughter Priests, have a Bloodsecrator, some Bloodletter heroes, and then ally in some Jabberslides. Play a Murder Host. Like, anything else you're doing is basically terrible. You have a whole bunch of really weak humans that suck, but they're ready to absorb tons of buffs in a Venn diagram of murder from 100-point heroes that produce awesome buffs. They're like the poster child for being upset that you can snipe heroes, because that's like their kryptonite. Is if you can randomly kill like a 100-point hero from like 16 inches away, suddenly all their guys suck. And it's a problem. My opponent said he took the wrong list today for this tournament. Like, he was just playing the wrong army. And I looked, and he handed me his War Scrolls and his army list, and I could only agree.
Oh, man.
He's got Skarak the Bloodborne, which is a Forge World massive demon monster for 500 points. That I don't think is very good. He's got 2 Bloodstokers so that Skarak and the 2 Soul Grinders can run and charge. to get into the opponent's grill right away. Think the Flesh-Eater Courts thing that I played round 1. He's got 2 Soul Grinders, which I think are bad. He's got 2 Slaughter Priests, which are good. He's got 15 Blood Warriors, but no Blood Secrator, and nothing that's really going to buff them to make them good. And then 20 Blood Reavers, also with no buff people or anything. And he has 3 Mighty Skull Crushers. So, his army is Gigantic Forge World Demon that I don't think is very good, and then 2 Forge World Soul Grinders that I don't think are very good, with a combo to get them really close to your opponent's army right away. And then a bunch of humans with no buffs that aren't very strong at all. And 2 Slaughter Priests. So, like, he's right. He just took the wrong army to this tournament. I don't think it's very competitive, and he suffered for it. But we tried to have fun anyway. So, long story really short, I put the 2 dragons right next to each other over here, and I put all the Arcanaut in the middle. And so I'm like, okay, which one do you want to kill, you know, right away? He uses command abilities so that he can run and charge. He runs and charges Skarrak and the Soul Grinders across the table. The Soul Grinders can run and shoot as per their War Scroll, and they can run and charge because of the Bloodstokers. So this is a good combo. The Soul Grinders shoot at the dragons. They pass all their saves because they have a 4 per rolling. Maybe one takes 1 or 2 damage, I don't know. They all charge in. They kind of bounce off the dragons. I drink a Quicksilver Potion, deal a lot of damage. The dragons don't die. It's my turn. The Arcanauts shoot a 16 wound Soul Grinder at full life, full to dead, off the table. The dragons pile in, kill the other Soul Grinder. Skarrak the Bloodborne starts fighting the dragons on his turn. He gets the Silver Dragon down to like 1 life. Gold Dragon pieces out, leaving the Silver Dragon to die, so that the Gold Dragon can start devouring his back line. Tenebral Shard passes his teleport, and pretty much like Zui fights, from one Bloodstoker to the next Bloodstoker to the next Slaughter Priest to the next Slaughter, just like assassinating all of his heroes, like teleporting one after another. On one particular turn, I was still in combat with a Slaughter Priest, because I hadn't killed it, and I rolled the 4 up to teleport. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll teleport 1 millimeter to the left to get that sweet +1 to hit bonus, having technically teleported, I guess. And there were a whole bunch of... all 4 of the bears were just, like, killing all of his Blood Warriors. And he conceded.
Oh, really?
In the whole game.
Oh, man.
And he lost every model in the whole game. And I captured all 4 objectives with the tertiary objective having gotten battlefield roles controlling an objective, which was also the secondary for being in his deployment zone. So it was the most complete, brutal, crushing victory I've ever achieved in Age of Sigmar in my whole life. After the tournament, everyone was tired, but I wanted to play more games, because the games are fun. I wanted more, and it was sweet. We talked about Khorne after the game, and his army was pretty decently painted, I think. He happened to know just like a bunch of dudes who like worked for the place, and it looked like everybody knew who this guy was. So maybe he thought he had a read on what people were going to be playing and was just super wrong about it or something. Like, it was too bad. So it wasn't like, you know, Johnny whoever just shows up and gets crushed by everyone and has no fun. It was like, this guy's not new. This guy's been in the game for a long time, and he brought Khorne with, I mean, it's got combos. Skarrak the Bloodborne lets everybody run and charge around him. Soul Grinders get to run and shoot as part of their War Scroll, so that's a combo. Now they get to run and shoot and then run and charge because of the Bloodstokers. They get to move an extra 3, and so, like, he's got combos, he's got Slaughter Priest, he's got a plan for what he'll do. He just underestimated how good succeeding at that plan was. Because, like, his plan worked perfectly, and he just kind of bounced off my good stuff units that I chose carefully. With an all-in, like, I'm here to smash or get smashed style army. Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you, and the bar ate him.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
Like, do you go through with, like, your plan and execute it with just, like, cold efficiency? Or do you pull the punches just, like, ever so slightly? Not, like, all the way, but...
Right.
But, like you said, you're all adults and everything, so...
Yeah, and plus, like, this is my first tournament. They're posting the results with your name, with your full name attached to them and stuff. Like, I want to get all the points that I'm capable of getting to properly show, like, how competitive I was in this tournament. I give a shit if I'm in the top 50% in my first tournament, you know?
Right.
So there's that too. Also, like, the previous day, I, like, planted my flag on, like, being competitive and treating people with respect by, like, playing to your fullest and stuff. And then here I am, like, 18 hours later, like, ooh, I kind of feel bad about this now, you know? Like, but no, I was right. I was right on day one, and by gum, I'm going to stick to it. So for the tournament in its entirety, I got the max number of points twice, like 18 out of 18, all the major victories, secondary objectives, and all the tertiaries. I got the max twice. I got the min once with what I considered to be really bad beats and hilarious good luck for my opponent. And then I got a minor victory in the hardest fought and most fun match of the weekend, definitely, against excellent player beta test European man. And I got a minor victory with some bad dice rolls with dragons and Arcanaut Company miraculously being in range of a Necromancer when they weren't last turn and he didn't move. So, like, I feel like I did pretty well. You know? 2 of the majorest victories, a minor victory, and then a minor loss and a major loss. So, like, in some ways I went 3-2. Which is pretty good. Like, that's not bad for your first tournament in something. And I painted the whole goddamn army in 7 days, and got nearly max paint scores, if not for the fact that I didn't have a display board. And sportsmanship, I think I got, like, mostly 4s and stuff. So not bad. I feel like my round 4 opponent might have scored me kind of low in sportsmanship, and I feel like my round 5 opponent might have scored me a little low in sportsmanship. But them's the breaks.
You went in with a full Warriors code.
Dude, he's playing Khorne. Khorne cares not from whence the blood flows.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, he knew what this was.
Right. Right.
You're playing Khorne. You came here to make the blood flow. You came here to smash. And smash we did. So
he doesn't care where the skulls come from for that throne of his.
Yeah. No, they must be worthy skulls. So yeah, that's my feelings on that. If I was going to, and I talked to Andrew and Mike in the car, like, on the drive back. All right, this is what we do for magic events on the drive back. If you ran it back, if instead of driving home right now, we were driving to the tournament and it was Thursday, would you play the same list you played? And everyone's like, yes. So that's a great sign. It means in the list building and painting half of the entire game. Total success. I think my army was capable of winning all 5 of those rounds with major victories in each. I was capable of it. Like, if instead of 1 game against those 5 people, you played like a best of 3, I think it's very possible I could have won all of them with the list. Like, I wasn't hamstrung, I wasn't held back by the list that I ran. And
Right.
so that's a point of pride. Like, I'm a good deck builder, probably a better deck builder than I'm a player in Magic, which is why I'm the best at Limited, because it's equal parts deck building and really fast deck building and playing. So, you know, I'm using my knowledge and experience in other competitive, strategic, synergy-oriented games like Magic and like Dungeons and Dragons and Rifts and stuff, where like character building is fun, and like it's just about like synergies and numbers and finding combos and stuff. Like, I'm using that experience I have to skip the first few steps of the staircase of getting good in Age of Sigmar. And so the lists I'm playing are pretty sick, I think, and the units I'm playing are pretty good. And I just gotta play more. Just play better. And the way you play better is to practice more. And I haven't been playing the game very long, so for a first tournament, I consider this a success. And it was super fun.